Owen, Lara, thanks a million for hosting us here in Thurles today. Lovely premises, Lara.
Thanks very much, thanks.
It's going to be a different Christmas for you maybe a little bit this year. You're going to be pretty busy, clearly, with your businesses, but slightly different Christmas from last year. Have you got your head around that yet?
Yeah, I suppose I have. As Owen will probably touch on later on, I was never any good for the winter training anyway, so maybe it's going to be the same Christmas as every other year.
That's a fact, anyway,
yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to enjoy the Christmas and then sure, whatever happens, but like, that's it.
Yeah, take a bit of getting used to on that sort of thing where it's, and you know, you're not exactly in full training around Christmas time as Lara says, you might winter well, but it is a slightly different mindset too.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Look, Christmas, you like your time off, you know, you get to meet your family, your friends and that, and, you know, you have one eye on the next year, the pre-season and that, but, you know, as Lara will find now, you know, I mean, we'll say when you're not involved, you will miss the first early weeks. It's the camaraderie with the lads you miss. You know, it's gone so professional too, is that I found the last couple of years you were learning something new every day you went into the dressing room, especially in the Tipperary set up the last couple of years. They really brought it to a different level, and you know, you miss that discipline side of it. Now I suppose you can go do what you want, go eat what you want and that, so you know, I definitely miss that, and Lara will probably find as the year goes on the games are hard enough, and I found the Munster final very hard now. I was watching from the press box, and you know, to see Tipperary win Munster Championship, that's great, but you'd love to be part of it, and that's only natural, and you know, going to Croke Park then and not being on the team bus going in, and you know, you definitely do miss it. So you'll probably see that as the year goes on there. But look, everyone finds their own ways to get around it.
There's gas like that's what a lot of people are saying. You're like, you know, will you miss it? You're going to miss it, and it's going to be something that I'm going to find out as the year goes on. But I kind of have myself like, you know, I'm actually enjoy going to the matches. I'm actually looking forward to going to the first few league matches that Tipperary are involved in. I'm actually looking forward to going to the championship matches, and I'm going to embrace that, and I'm going to look at it as I'm delighted for what I got and the years we got, and I'm going to try and say that. But it'll be very interesting to see. I won't be able to answer that till, as you say, the Munster final so it comes around.
I actually didn't go to any league matches during the year. You know what I mean? I kind of just didn't probably have the heart to go to them. You know what I mean? And was missing out. But I just went to the first championship game, and I suppose when you were doing a bit then on the media side, you weren't mingling with the crowd. So I actually liked that because there's no one there tapping you on the shoulder, what you think of that, or I mean, you could do it out there and things like that. So I was actually away from it, and I enjoyed that side of it. But you know, when there's a Munster final there and the team wins, like you'd be saying to yourself, I'd love to be part of that. But you know, that's the joys of it, and we all had our time.
Yeah, we do.
We loved it, and the success we had. It was great days. Like.
Well, even it's funny you bring it up because I remember watching you contributed to an RTE documentary a couple of years ago, and yourself and your now wife, I think, had gone to was it Kilkenny, Cork. You went to, and like a lot of the language that you were using around that really struck me. I have to say, you were talking about the idea of how institutionalised you were as a player in that team environment and being controlled by somebody else, and suddenly Tip were out before the quarterfinals, Thurles Sarsfields were out as well, and suddenly you were left with two blank hands wondering what you're going to do, and you were at this game saying, this is the first game we've ever been to together. I found that remarkable.
And that's very interesting. You said, I suppose, we're lucky enough from Thurles Sarsfields, we're after contesting, I think, 12 out of the last 14 county finals. So every year Thurles Sarsfields were contesting, if not winning a county final. And Tipperary were always at the busy end of the year as well, majority of the years. But this was the first year that Sarsfields were finished and Tipperary were finished. And it was in the middle of the summer, and it was the first time I found there's actually nowhere to go on the Tuesday, there's nowhere to go on the Thursday and the weekend. And you start saying it's kind of surreal, because you're so used to getting the gear for either club or county. And this was the first time we had the summer to actually do what we wanted. And there was definitely a void and definitely a hole there anyway,
And it changes life as well, right? Like, because the other part of that documentary was you going up to your mother's house, and she had got all the gear and all the compartments. Like the hilarious comment of how this is a brilliant two-way street, it works for everybody. But there's actually something deeper there as well. Like, you get to call up to your mother 3 or 4 times a week and have that chat. And so suddenly life is going to change a little bit.
It's true, and as you just said that, my mother wouldn't say it to me, but she said it to Elaine only last week. She said, I'm going to miss him calling up for the gear. Now, she'd never say that she was delighted to see me calling up for the gear, but just say there's always kind of just there's an emotion involved with that my mother knew I was calling up 3 or 4 times a week for the gear and doing whatever had to be done, but she enjoyed me calling up. But she just said to Elaine last week, I'm going to miss him calling up for the gear, and it's just something we wouldn't say to each other.
It was a two-way system. I firmly believe it was a one-way system. All going your direction.
I think most people watching felt that as well. I did want to initially set out the relationship between the two of you guys. You had very different paths into the Tipperary full forward line, and like the awareness of each other. Owen, you might go first in terms of when you first had an awareness of Lara Corbett.
We got to the Minor All-Ireland in 1999, and Galway beat us in the final, and you know, I suppose we didn't perform great that day, and if we had 1 or 2 more forwards maybe that would have performed, we might have won the game and that. But I hadn't really heard tell of Lar that much, to be honest with you, and I remember coming to the county final that year between Toomevara and Nina, and the minor final was on before it. And Lar was there wearing the yellow helmet, number 12, flying up and down the pitch like they beat Knockavilla Kickham as well on the day. And I remember coming home and saying, there's a lad that got away that, you know, if he was playing, he definitely would have got a few scores in Croke Park when we were needed. And then the year after, 2000, still not knowing much about Lar, going to the 2000 county final, Toomevara and Thurles Sarsfields. Yeah. And Lar was at the same crack again, flying it around the pitch. And that's when you kind of said to yourself, this guy looks good, but still I didn't see a future for Lar because I didn't know anything about him from previous, or you were just saying he looks good, like. And I think it wasn't until Nicky English came in as the manager then that he obviously spotted the talent with Lar, and that's when it all kicked off for Lar and for Tip.
Your awareness of this fella?
Definitely. Remember, there was big talk about Eoin Kelly under 14. I think the Thurles CBS play Killinall in was it a Crow Cup? Under 14. Did it go to a replay? Did you get your appendix taken out the week before? You couldn't play?
I think so. I'm not too sure now.
Yeah,
I think so,
and I just remember that. But all the talk was Eoin Kelly and Donald Shelley at the time. That was my first time getting awareness. But actually, properly seeing him playing at a level just at intercounty was just a minor. 5 years under 21 then. It was huge. Like no one had ever played just 5 years under 21. So the name was coming all the time. And usually in Tipperary, if they start talking about you at 14, they stop talking about you at 18. So it is the first time that they thought, he's coming, and kept coming and produced it right through to the top. Like, you know, so it's just fantastic to see it coming right through because they build you up to bring you back down. But Eoin is probably too strong for that.
But the paths to where you eventually got to at almost the exact same time probably couldn't be more opposite.
Yeah.
But your path was not exactly that totally clear either. What the hell were you doing in goal? You were playing as goalkeeper.
That was it. I suppose like anything, when you're from a small club, numbers are small, so they need to throw the young fella in the goals to make up teams. Like I would have been playing maybe under 21 in goals when I was under 14, and I'm sure a lot of other lads in rural parishes were doing the same in small clubs and that. So my first debut with the minors was in 1997, and I played in goal. Actually, the minor keeper from the year before, Fergal Horgan, he's an intercounty referee now, he was suspended. So I got my chance in goal, and actually finished that season then for the minors, playing Conor forward. We got beaten in a minor All-Ireland semi-final, but that's where mine kind of kicked off. And my first time in the Tipperary dressing room as a senior player, I was double jobbing. Yeah. I was a goalkeeper one night in training, and I was a forward the next night in training, and I was coming in with 4 and 5 hurleys, like, because I didn't know where I was going to be playing. And I remember the 2000 Munster final, I was just on the extended panel. I remember Cork beat Tip in the Munster final up at Semple State. I remember for the quarter final then, I was handed the number 16 goalkeeper's jersey.
Against Galway, wasn't it?
Against Galway,
oh,
yeah. And in the All-Ireland quarter final, and I was full sure I was just going to be sitting on the bench that day, sub goalkeeper. You know, 18 years of age, happy out. One nervous moment, Harry Brendan Cummins got injured, and I was just hoping he was going to get up, like that I wasn't going in there. But next thing, with about 15 minutes to go, Nicky English just turned to Hotpoint and he says, "Get the number 16 outfield jersey." And this is the first I knew about it.
You had 2 different jerseys. You had one blue.
I had the goalkeeper's jersey, sub-keeper's jersey, 16 on me, and he had an outfield jersey, number 16 in the bag. And Hotpoint just thrown it to me. And the next thing, I had this on my back, and next thing, before I knew it, I was standing up, Nicky English's hand around me saying, "You're going in there full forward, just try and get on the ball and do what you're able to do."
Lads, just want to show you the photograph of the 2001 All-Ireland team, the team shot before the game, and get your thoughts on that.
It's surreal because it's so long ago, and when you see the guys that's in it, so you see Tom Costello in it, you see Eugene O'Neill in it, you see Declan Ryan in it. It's like, I can't remember the last time that I laid eyes on Eugene O'Neill or Tom Costello. Can you?
Yeah. No, it's true.
Joy, people just disappear, like, you know. You don't meet people, like, you know. And we would have trained 3 nights a week together, you know, for X amount of years. And
Lara's right. You don't get to meet these people, and the only chance you might meet them is rare funeral or a wedding, like, which you know, sometimes it's a sad circumstance. But the one memory I have of that picture is that the Hogan stand wasn't there.
Oh yeah, it wasn't
at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it was a building site.
It was a building site. Yeah, that was it. So we were right. So I'd say a lot of us are staring into the building site.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If you ask us what we're looking at, that was it. So, you know, and at the time then, like, it was everyone's dream really to accept the Lee McCarthy Cup or to climb up the steps.
Yeah.
And for those couple of seasons, the cup was actually presented on the pitch.
On the field,
yes, that's right.
Which was, as players, it's not the same buzz.
It's
not the same buzz.
No.
You'd both come in 2000, as you mentioned. Larry, you started a game in the league, and you, I think, came off the bench in the championship. I spoke to Nicky English in the lead into the chat today, just to get a bit of a sense from him, because he was the one, as you've mentioned, who brought both of you into it. And we've mentioned the very different paths that you had. But Larry, with you specifically, Nicky was looking for something very specific in that team, and he was trying to find the player that would fit that thing. And it was a league game against Clare in Ennis.
In Ennis,
you remember that?
How that started, my mother and father, they had a pub in the other end of town. They had it for the last maybe 20 odd years. They're out of it a few years. But a phone call came to the pub, because back in 2000, not everyone had a mobile phone. So you used to ring 0504 and hopefully there's someone's going to pick up the other end. So the phone call came to the pub, and I remember coming in, and I remember my mum saying to me that I think it was either, I can't remember, was it Nicky English or Jack Bergen at the time, was after making a phone call to the pub and saying that there's a tipper playing Clare down in Ennis on Sunday. I said, there's someone after rings, this is only a hoax. This is not. I'd never played minor, never played under 21. I said, there's hardly a phone call going to come to the pub that you're going to play in a senior match. She said, I'm only telling you what was said. You have to go up outside the Park Avenue, which is where we are now, and you have to be there, I think, around 11:30. The bus is leaving from there. So I said to myself, I said, I'll take a chance and go up, but I won't get out of the car till I see the bus and I see who's on it and I see exactly what's going to happen here. So at around 11:15, I pulled up just up the road in the car, and I see this minibus pulling up. It was only about maybe a 14-seater minibus, and we were all pulling up, and I see yourself getting out of the car and John O'Brien getting out. So I said, there's some bit of truth to the story. Owen Kelly's getting out and John O'Brien is getting out. And I remember saying, get onto the bus. I knew no one on the bus. I would never have spoke to yourself. I would have never spoke to John O'Brien. We never came in contact with each other. And I remember getting onto the bus the whole way down to Ennis, and I don't know that I speak to anybody.
I won't lie to you, you didn't say a word, and when you got on, we were looking at each other.
Who's this lad?
Who the hell is this lad?
Yeah.
You know, this tall, lanky fella getting on. We were there like, what's going on here?
And I remember down in the dressing room, I had no tipped hogs, no tipped socks. I remember hot pint. I said, give me out a pair of hogs out of the bag. This was the start of it.
Nicky had said that there was a round of club games in Tipperary that weekend, and there was a lot of players unavailable, and possibly only for that. That he mightn't have even asked you into it. I don't know if you're aware of that.
And I would believe, because I couldn't believe when I went down that it was actually playing. But when I looked around, I think we had only 16 players. So I think it was very, very small panel that was there. I
actually think that could be true, but I'd say probably even Nicky seen some of himself as a player in yourself. You know what I mean? Like over 6 foot, plenty pace, and corner forward. You know, and sometimes a manager can see himself in a certain player, and I'd say he definitely, you know, relived his couple of his championship days nearly through you as well. We'll say, you know what I mean, and like. Pace at inter-county level is a must.
Well, that's exactly what he was after, isn't it? Pace and physicality, he said, were the two things he was after. And he looked out at one point in that game against Clare, and he saw you fielding a ball above Frank Loan's head.
And
he turned around to his selector, and I'm not going to use the phrase that he used, but he was impressed. Did he chat to you after that?
With half-time, I remember going using the toilet at half-time, and he was standing beside me at half-time, and he said to me, that was good catch you caught there. And I just said, thanks very much.
The bond with Nicky English seems to be something that was maybe not achieved with a huge amount of managers or coaches from that point on, but it was a special thing, right?
It was. Well, we hit the ground running. Like, we didn't lose a game that year. Between championship and league, 17 games, and we were undefeated. And we actually won the league final against Clare that year, which was a big thing, you know. When you get to a league final, you want to win it. And we beat Clare that day, and then we had to play them again a month later in the Munster Championship. And we actually performed well in that league final.
I remember that, the two of us actually played well, and a lot of talk after that was that just say Owen was in one corner and I was in the other corner, and I remember the media coming to Nicky after it and kind of saying, well, now Eoin Kelly and Larry Corbett, and instead of blowing us up, he said, these lads have a lot to prove yet. And that took the pressure off again. So all these things, like, you know, it was fantastic to hear that, you know, he had your back. He was thinking about, you know, looking after you, and it was all about the next step.
Yeah, and I remember even in the month between the league final and the Clare game, Clare came with this massive physicality. And I remember being hit one night in training, John Carroll hit me, and I was lying on the ground looking for a bit of sympathy, and Nicky just came on, get up out of this. You know, so like it was just, you know, he says a bit rougher than that now, you know, that was the gist of it.
Well, he'd been there himself and he knew.
That was it, and he, you know, you're not resting on your laurels around here, like we're going to battle with Clare in a couple of weeks' time, and be ready.
I watched back a lot of the 2001 final in the lead into the chat today, and like that Galway team, when you look at, you know, the likes of Joe Rabbit and Eugene Cluner, a lot of Alan Kearns, very impressive players, and, you know, the nucleus of a very good team. And I was looking at your performances, obviously, sort of individually. Larry, you were living off a lot of scraps, maybe early on in that game.
Yeah.
Didn't get much of a sniff. Is that fair enough to say?
It would be fair to say, I'd say, if Brian O'Meara didn't get sent off in the semi-final against Wexford, I probably would reckon I wouldn't have started the final. Now, the only man he'll have to go back to Nicky for that and find out the proper answer. Yeah. So that's that, because I was after being taken off in every single championship game up as far as the final. I got taken off at half time in the Wexford match in the replay. Eugene O'Neill came on and scored 2-1.
He did, yeah.
Out of just bang, 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 like.
Yeah, it was that kind of a game though where it was, I wouldn't say it was free-flowing hurling, but it was kind of in patches. Tip dominated early, got the scores on the board, then Galway dominated, Tip dominated, then Galway came with a late surge at the end, but we had enough on the board just to get over the line, you know. And
it was a good battle between you and a veteran,
Ollie Canning
at that stage, 24 years of age.
That was the start of us, yeah. But you know, I remember Declan Ryan, I suppose, showed all his experience that day. Like he just, you know,
the hand pass he gave to Mark O'Leary, like, was just unreal. It wasn't. He just held it up. It's actually slow motion if you actually look at it. He was looking. He was actually waiting for Mark to make the run, bang top corner.
Yeah, and that was the first goal, and even the second goal, it was kind of a scrambled goal by Mark O'Leary, but Declan is in the middle of it as well, and he's kicking it on a yard or two. And you know, his presence, he was a big physical guy, like 33 years of age, so he kept the ball inside there. Yeah. You know, his strength was massive at the end. They're small things that maybe the supporter doesn't see, like, you know.
Yeah.
And you, as you say, Tip led start to finish. It was 3 points in the end. It was 10 years since the previous win under Babs. Pretty big party, decent atmosphere, I would think, after that.
What I was thinking at the time, we jumped on the bandwagon, and wherever the wagon was going, we were going. So if the party was going, we were just going there, and that was kind of the same with the matches. Like, we couldn't believe that. We thought, is this the normal for Tipperary? We were talking out every day and we were winning every day. We just thought this was normal. We couldn't believe. Then the years that came after, it's only when the years after you realise. Yeah, this is it. This is going to happen every week.
Yeah, but it was a roller coaster year.
Roller coaster.
We didn't lose a game.
No.
And you know, we were only in the dressing room door, and here we were. Preparing to be flown off to South Africa for 2 weeks holidays, and there was all-star trips, and this was all new to us all, like. And the next thing, you know,
this is going to be some party.
This is the right party. Yeah. And we had a few characters now in the squad. Yeah. Some goalkeeper there were beating. That was he was the ringleader. He was the ringleader. So we're going to say anyway. But no, it was great times, like, and you know, sure, everywhere we were going, you were getting the clap on the back. And, you know, sure, we were lapping it all up. Of course we would. Like. When I hear of it straight away, the first thing that springs to my mind is the turnover of nearly managers. You know, it was year after year, like there was nearly 4 or 5 managers in the space of maybe 4 or 5 years. You know, and you know, that doesn't bring continuity then. Like, you know, kind of what you want in a team structure is, you know, you like to have continuity, we'll say, you know, because different managers come with different styles, come with different attitudes, different applications. So, you know, there is big changes along there, because I think if you look at all the successful teams, Kilkenny's, the Kerry footballers, Manchester United, the common denominator is they've one manager at the helm, like, for long periods of time, you know. Probably deep down we probably hadn't the quality of players that you need to contest All Irelands, if we're being honest about it, and we were definitely 5th or 6th in the pecking order. Yeah,
and like in them years then as well, like, you know, and it's there that Eoin Kelly was in the forwards and kind of on his own, to help he wanted. I look at myself as an individual, I probably didn't. It's not one I know we speak about there, but when Eamon O'Shea came in, showed me how to actually play as a corner forward and play part of the team and get more involved. But they were probably your best years from 2001 to 2006-07, was it?
You were winning, like, Young Hurler of the Year over the early part.
That was it, you know. Look, I suppose for myself, I was probably on top of my game then, you know, but like, you know, personal accolades there are great, but you want to be contested in Munster finals and going to Croke Park, All Ireland finals, and we weren't doing that. You know, like, a few heartbreaking defeats then, we'll say the 1 point defeat here and the 1 point defeat there, kind of, you know, was masking over maybe that we're not maybe too far away, when realistically we were miles away. Like, but we were playing those years in hope more than in belief.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, over those last years, Michael Doyle comes in obviously directly after Nicky, and he lasts 1 year, and then a couple of years for the next manager, not much in the way of success obviously, and then Babs returns, and there's been a lot written and a lot said, and particularly even over the last few weeks, but Just to sort of give some context to that, I wanted to ask you about 1989 when Tipperary won the All-Ireland. Again, there's a year between you were 7 and 8 years of age, and Babs has won the All-Ireland as Tip manager, and a little older obviously again than in 91 when he won the second. Like as kids, do you remember how you felt towards Babs at that point, or is that something that's been sort of blotted out by what happened previously or subsequently?
No, like they were great memories when you were in school and the cup coming around and local players from your local village playing on the team and that. And I suppose the one memory I have of that Tipperary team, like it's just how flamboyant they were actually playing. But even then, when you'd see them off the pitch at homecomings and that, like they were kitted out in suits.
Yeah.
No, they look like royalty, and that was all due to Babs. Like he turned those guys' lives inside out.
Like when he comes in then in 2006, is that colouring some of your relationship with Babs at that point? You know, what you know about him from those years, or what people have told you about him, or what your parents have told you about him, or what's that relationship like initially?
I thought now myself when Babs came in first, when he entered that dressing room first, that he had the players eating out of his hand. You know, you'd heard all the stories about him being a player's man, and definitely he tried to deliver that to the players early when he came in. But
how did
I suppose you always had, well, like in fairness, when he came in first, like anything players wanted to be looked after, gear-wise, right like that. He was very good that way. But I suppose you had the controversies hanging over him of his days, maybe with Offaly and even back as far as 1990 with Tip and Cork.
Oh yeah,
Donkeys don't win derbies. And you had the
rag to a bull.
the Offaly scenario in 1998 when he said the Offaly were like a sheep in a heap and those kind of things. And I think we kind of got to learn quickly enough when Babs came in after a couple of defeats that he used to like to pass the blame over to the players, and I suppose that's something that was evident when Offaly were playing as well. And I remember in Michael Dignan's book he said that Babs used to absolve all the blame for the performance and for how the team hurled on the day, that he used to hand it all over to the players. Like, and when you're in that level of sport, like everybody has to be together.
It's support you want. You want someone having your back. Like and then if there's any kink in the system, if there's any crack, it's going to come out to day of a championship match, and it's going to come then when the pressure is the highest. So you want a lad having your back, and we just knew straight away that he wasn't going to back you up. We played Offaly in the championship qualifier in Thurles, and I remember called 5 names out in the dressing room. The team wasn't called out. This is about 10 minutes before we went out, called 5 names into the dressing room, into the showers. So the 5 of us went in. I can't remember who was there. I remember myself, Benny Dunn, I think John Carroll was there.
Yeah, the 6 forwards that started against Limerick went into the shower.
Yeah, called us in, and he says, lads, you're not, won't be playing today.
So 5 lads walked out.
5 lads, that was grand. So he
called 5 lads came back.
Called another 5 lads, called him in. And I remember now because one of my very good friends that lived beside him is Pa Burke. It was Pa's first time starting a championship match. Pa didn't know the night before, didn't know tomorrow in. And when Pa going into the shower, his name was called. I remember coming out, he was it's very simple. He saw a ghost inside. He said, I'm playing, he says. I said, are you playing? I said, no, I'm not playing. I was told a minute ago. Oh yeah, are you playing? Pa says, yeah, I'm playing. Jeez, he says, what? So I said, Pa, very, very simply now, forget about who's not playing now. So Pa Burke is playing, get that right, we'll sort out everything else after the match. We'll try and get that right. But this is what you were dealing with, that the lads that were going out were a nervous wreck going out because only found out, and then the pressure was on because the rest of us weren't starting. Yeah. So no one knew what was happening.
The thing there is his management style was very different to what we had been kind of used to the previous couple of years.
But you know, when you get talking to other lads in other counties, it was kind of a right laugh. Yeah. They were saying, like, you know, Babs is some crack, it's right, left. Did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said last week? And it's grand, but we were inside, we were taking it serious. And when other lads are actually laughing at you, like, it's actually heartbreaking at times because it's a laugh for everybody else. So you'd rather be laughing at other people.
And that's probably a disappointing thing from Babs' point of view, from the legacy that he has in Tipperary hurling with Tipperary supporters. As a player, he was phenomenal. As a manager, then brought Tip out back from the dead. Yeah. You know, so he has a legacy there. But like, that's, you know, at the moment, everything he kind of speaks about with Tipperary seems to be a negative vibe, and. You know, you'd meet a lot of supporters now that are probably, they're not very happy with some of the comments that Babs is saying, will say. And, you know, as you said, maybe sometimes other counties seem to be having a joke about Babs.
Like, when you read the article, it never says Shane McCallan was man of the match. Shane McCallan had some game. Eoin Kelly gave an unbelievable score. You don't see that about any player. So sure, they definitely played one game somewhere along the line or done something right. But everybody seems to do something wrong, so it's very hard to take his opinion on board when everything is wrong.
And I'm sure if Babs was here, he'd probably have a counterpoint, I'm sure, to what you're saying in terms of his experience of those years.
Yeah.
And I know that one thing that he says about the process of him getting the job in the course of the job interview, that he said that the county board are very adamant about team discipline, and his sense was that that wasn't a coincidence. Is that something you understand, that essentially the accusation here is that Tipperary had lost, the players had lost discipline over the previous years, and it was his job to come in and whip them into shape?
Well, in Tipperary, when Tipperary lose, the rumour mill goes into overdrive.
Yeah.
So they'll always find an excuse on the field, off the field, and in those years it was more so off the field is what they like to harp on about. And I suppose even of the recent team, if there was a defeat and maybe a close game, they like to find a rumour as well that they can spin like that this guy's to blame, you know, this guy was socialising when he shouldn't be, and whatnot. But like you know, like as I said, I think Babs had the players eating out of his hand when he came in, and I think it kind of all changed after we lost the 2006 Munster final to Cork. You know, in a game, we'll say we were underdogs and we could have maybe won it. Could have won it. Yeah. There was one or two chances we had maybe and we missed them, and they could have swung the game. And I think if we had to win that Munster final 2006, I think things might have went down a different path after that.
Really?
I definitely do.
Because like the state of the relationship now that you guys have just outlined, that Babs outlined on Off the Ball and News Talk recently, like they're very different pictures.
Yeah,
right?
I think if we had to win that 2006 Munster final, it would have been Tip's first Munster championship since 2001.
Yeah.
It was Cork in Thurles, so it was the hype going into that game was massive. Like, you know, I mean, Tip Cork Munster final in Semple Stadium it's out on its own.
Yeah.
You know, there was a massive build up to it.
To give it another way, then in 2007, then we played Wexford. If we were to beat Wexford that day, we're playing Kilkenny in the semi-final. I don't believe we were going to win the semi-final because we couldn't be just say, and that's we were actually happy as an because we knew that this was over for Babs in 2007, that we're going to start something in 2008.
Yeah, I think 2007 was more of a turbulent year. You know, even small things. I remember being on the bus from Semple Stadium for about an hour and a half afterwards, going out for the meal out to the Thurles Golf Club and seeing the Cork players walking down.
Were you saying that?
There was kind of even a tension on the bus.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to walk down.
We weren't allowed to walk down.
No,
there was even a tension on the bus. After that, whereas you had lost the Munster final, you're devastated. You just want to actually get out of the place, and you're still on a bus.
And as Gash said, do you remember the Cork lads, Pat, you'd have the slacks?
Yeah.
They were dressed to the nines. I remember Jodie and the boys passing us off the bus, and they were coming down the bridge, and they used to always put in, they always come in for a couple of pints in the pubs. Used to go up to the other for a bit of food. And I remember you turned to me and said, if I ever win a Munster final in Thurles, I'm walking down that town.
Yeah, that's one of the things I always wanted. I always wanted to beat Cork in a Munster final in Thurles and just walk down the town after it. Now,
when was our first
we won Munster finals
in
2009. We beat Waterford
up here, and we walked down.
We got a chance to do it, but I never got a chance to beat Cork in a Munster final.
Yeah.
Tipping Cork something special.
Yeah.
You know, but any Munster final, you definitely treasure it. Like.
You said to me in the dressing room after we were getting talked out, I'm walking down that town.
Yeah, I did definitely. Yeah.
I'm walking down that town because I remembered, and it was nice because you're free, you're easy, but you're mixed in with the crowd coming down. And there's an air of confidence, and that's where you get the confidence. People are delighted, the supporters are delighted, and you feel a sense of achievement.
Yeah,
I never forget that.
You know, so I just thought maybe even, you know, it's small little things, even the tension on that bus, kind of I'd say spilled over to a day or two later, like, and you know, when you lose a Munster final, it's devastated. Like, we were all devastated, management, players alike. Like,
not to move forward, but in 2008, the beginning of 2008, when just Liam came in, I teamed up straight away with John Casey, which is the visio we had, and Cian O'Neill. And on a daily basis, I worked with them on just getting the legs, getting the hamstrings right. So there was no such thing as going down to Wexford, quick fix, come back. Yeah, we're like, you know, the job is done. They don't work. But what works is on a daily basis, working with your physio, working with your physical trainer. Plus then what you had then is you had John Casey relaying back to the management that this is the situation where Lara's at the minute. This is what he's able to do. When I was injured, I had to go to Babs myself. So now he used to say to himself, is Lara trying to pull a quick one here, or is he really injured? So he'd ask himself two questions. And more often than not, maybe he was asking himself the question, oh no, he won't train. So, but the professional set up is when Liam came in, he put me in contact, he said, with John Casey, and now you're working with him, and you have to be honest with these guys and tell them exactly what you're capable of doing, and then they know the level that you're at.
And it takes that element of doubt out of the equation.
It does. So now John Casey is going to the management and said, well, now this is exactly what you can do. If I'm not good enough then, or if I'm not putting enough of an effort, that's fine. Hold on a minute, we don't have a space for you. Because everything is done step by step. And that's where I really got the confidence back up through just the physical trainer, Cian O'Neill at the time. He's the manager of Kildare. Like, he was unbelievable, working with John Casey, working with Liam Sheedy, so it's just a stepping stone, and you have to fill in the gaps.
See, it probably just goes back to what I said earlier, management styles. Like, you know, the good manager, probably you surround yourself with these top class people, and then you delegate out the work to them, so they look after the certain jobs that they have to look after. They feed it back to you, and I suppose from that side with Babs was probably, no, he was probably managing it the way he had managed maybe 10 or 12 years ago, when I suppose maybe there was injuries in hurling, but maybe they weren't as prominent, maybe because nowadays the cruciate is so prominent, and the hips.
The game is changing.
The game has changed.
A little bit more professional.
Gym work is more involved, and you know, like the hits I think are harder. You know, it's even a small bit faster again, like, and it's more physical. So, you know, it definitely, and that was even 2006 and 7, so it has changed even more so again, like, but you know, probably Babs didn't probably roll with the times maybe on his second coming as tip manager.
It's like, from the outside in, it seems like such a shame for like 3 people, and 4, I think, if you throw in Brendan Cummins into that mix as well, and maybe more, who are legends of the game here in Tipperary, and like, it doesn't seem as if any relationship exists. I don't know, have you spoken to him over the last 8 years?
I can speak for myself. I don't think I ever had a crossword with Babs, to be honest with you. There was never a shout match or anything like that. And I'd say you're probably the same.
Exactly,
because that's our...
but maybe it needed that.
That's our personality.
Maybe it needed a shouting match.
But I don't think he was ever going to get to that.
But you weren't going to win, like.
No, you weren't going to win, but like, I think when small little things happen early on, as I mentioned already, you put up and you kind of shut up, like. And I suppose we weren't at an age where you were, you know, and maybe we didn't have the same mentality as kind of the Cork players maybe had when they weren't happy. They were very vocal about it, being led by a couple of players. And you mentioned about relationships there, like, we'll say, you know, like, when there's never cross words or in a firing line between 2 lads or in a dressing room, like, you know, you'd probably be disappointed, I suppose, that Babs probably has that negativity towards the Tipperary team since, like, because, you know, like, we all want the same. You know, we want to win All Irelands with Tipperary and be very, very competitive, and, you know, it's disappointing that Babs finds it that he has to knock his own when Tipperary would have done so much for him, like, in all the years. And I think the shame here is that you know, sometimes when his name is mentioned now, he comes with laughter, like, you know, after all he has achieved and done for Tip.
And I suppose at the end of the day then as well, we're all Tipperary people, so we all play. So just say you want to win the Liam McCarthy Cup, and the Liam McCarthy Cup, if Tip do win it, go back to the Burlington, and it's a place where you want to be. Just say, for instance, this year 2016, if Tipperary are lucky enough to win the Liam McCarthy Cup, which is a place where I want to be, is up in the Burlington, in the middle of the players. Just say congratulating them and be part of it. Meeting fellas you played with and say that's it. But of all the times that we have won, either just say if it's a Munster Championship, if it's an All Ireland final, winning or losing, I've never once seen him part of in the hotel there with the management, with the players, mixing and mingling. Because at the end of the day, we're only all Tipperary people. So it's just every bit of negativity that comes out and says it, you're distancing yourself from the place where you were part and what your home and where you want to be deep down. So all the negativity, it's fine, but you're distancing yourself from it, and there's no point in that. In life, that's probably all that we have. It's hurling that's spoke about, it's in your heart, it's in your blood, and you want to be part of it. I don't ever want to distance myself from it, because you like by putting an article on the paper or by saying something negative about the people that you want to be part of.
I'm going to sort of fast forward a little bit to 2008. A man comes onto the scene that you'd later describe as your messiah, and he's obviously another guy, as a lot of these people you've worked with, who has had history with Tipperary as a player as well. Has stepped away from a pretty short career, I think, in 2000. Do either of you, did you have a relationship with him at that point because you were just coming onto the scene, or what are your recollections of Liam Sheedy when you were arriving as a player?
Yeah, when I came into wrestling in 2000, Liam was kind of and Michael Ryan were very, very close, and they were kind of not breaking into the team. You know, they had played previous to that, so I suppose they were on the way out more or less. You know, so I wouldn't have had a relationship with Liam then. Liam came back in 2003 as a selector with Michael Dial, and that year didn't go too well. But I think Liam really built up his reputation with the Tipperary minors. He won the All Ireland with them in 2006, and he won an intermediate All Ireland before that. So once you hear the younger fellas kind of saying that he's top class and that it's very intense and that there's intensity in the training and that, you know what I mean, he runs it very well. You know, you had that bit of confidence, but still there was there was a small bit of what's this going to be like? Yeah. You know, because we're after having so many bad years, you're kind of nearly you've kind of nearly given in like that.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, that you know, who's going to lift us out of this doom and gloom.
And when you got talking to Liam from the word go, you could hear and feel the honesty in his voice. And it's like having a conversation like we're having here now. Like, you know, you buy into what someone is saying very, very quick, or you don't. People make up their mind very quick on either if it's body language or the first couple of lines that you say, do I believe or do I not believe? I believed straight away because I knew this was going to be different, and I knew that he was going to be there for you. And when it got tough, that he was going to back you, and he did, and he'd always back you up. So you're buying into exactly what he's saying straight away, and that's nothing to do with hurling, nothing to do with winning, nothing to do with anything. But you're buying into his system. Well, we saw what went on before. So, for instance, the few years just say with Babs didn't work out, whatever, and then we saw this, and we said, right. And I remember us having a conversation after and saying, if we don't win anything with Liam, it means we weren't good enough, because he's have to put everything in place for us to achieve. There's nothing going to be not left there. Yeah. So now the onus is back on the players, that we can't blame anymore. We can't blame selectors, we can't blame managers, we can't blame, everything is done right on their side.
And a big thing then as well was the players that were coming through from the minors.
Yes, the Paddy Maher, the Brendan Maher.
We spoke one night and we said, look, there's serious quality coming through here.
Yeah.
Let's get on the bandwagon here with these lads.
Yes.
And let's put the shoulder to the wheel. And you know what I mean? If we're good enough, we're good enough. And as you said there, if we're not, we're not.
And they ended up being the backbone of the team. The Paddy Maher, the Brendan Maher. There's a few more now.
And had an impact straight away when they came into the dressing room.
And what was Liam Sheedy doing that sort of made you guys, outside of the experience that was coming from the minors, what actually was he doing that made you guys say, oh, geez, actually, he seems to know what he's doing here? What physically was it?
Well, I remember the pre-season running programs and that. Like, Tipperary is such a big county, you do them in different areas. And I remember we used to do some of our pre-season running in Kilkenny, actually, on the track. Because one or two sessions where you do it on a running track. And I remember being in Kilkenny, and you meet up at 7:30. There was one of the whole lads, killing all lads. And there might be 5 or 6 of us. I remember we were running around doing our programme. And I remember, next thing you know, we started at 7:30, next thing maybe around 10 to 8. We were just doing our runs, and next thing, seeing these flashing lights up in the car park. And Liam was after making his business to come from wherever he was after coming from, be it Limerick, be it Dublin, to come down just to check in. Right. And I remember even after seeing the flashing lights, you turn to another, kind of laughing. Yeah. He's here. Yeah, he's with you. But it actually gives you a pep in your step. Yeah. It actually gives you a lift. You felt like, you know, he cares. Like.
And there was another one we used to do at the gym up on the side of the Devil's Bit. To take about 25 minutes to go from here, and we used to. Liam used to come, and he'd just come in the door, and we were inside just doing the weights, and we never ever saw a manager following us just say to gym and coming in. You talk to the guys in Limerick. Yeah, he was in Limerick. Oh no, he was in the Devil's Bit. So he was checking in. But what he was doing, he was just saying, we're all in it together. We're part of it. Because you have to remember, in the beginning of 2008, we were emotional wrecks. Everything that was after going through, we were like, you know, the confidence was zero. We never thought that we were going to achieve. We were broken men, and Eamon O'Shea would tell you that when he got us, he said that we were emotional, we were never as low, and he had to build that right back up. And it's things like that, flashing the lights down in Kilkenny when the boys were doing the run, coming into the gym, just pulling in the door, boys were there doing the squats, doing gym work, and just staying for 3 or 4 minutes. But you just knew he had your back. He's there to help, and he was after coming from Limerick, and God knows what else he was doing. So everything was, you know.
Liam, with management style, was obviously different, like, but he was probably a control freak in that way, that he'd really, you know what I mean, wanted to know what everyone was doing. Yeah. But that had you on your toes, like.
Yeah. And he spotted everything. There was nothing that, you know, you wouldn't get away. Not saying that we're looking to get away with anything, but I even remember they used to get the Tipperary gear year in, year out, and he wanted everybody to wear the same thing for the matches. Yeah. Everyone had to wear the same. And I remember O'Neill's. The tracksuit the following year, there was only the slightest little thing on a strip, just say the slightest little thing, you wouldn't notice it, and he would know if you had the proper bottoms of a tracksuit on, and he pinpointed. And I said to myself, if he's watching these and sees these things, there's nothing going to miss. And they're only small things, but a lot of small things add up to be one big thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, look, his attention to detail was just
incredible.
Yeah, sounds incredible.
Yeah. And the other thing, Lara, that you credit in all of this, and we've sort of touched on a little bit up to now, is obviously the arrival of Eamon O'Shea at that stage, and you say that he changed everything for you. How was that?
I was a corner forward from the end of 2000 to 2007, and I thought I knew how to play as a corner forward. But when I actually got talking to Eoin as the months progressed, I learned very, very quick I didn't know how to play. So he used to challenge your mind. He brought the movement into Tipperary hurling, showed us how to move, showed us how to get involved, all the aspects. But he took all the pressure off you as an individual. Do you know, like when you're out the back at 10 years of age and you're kicking the ball around, you think you're Maradona. But when you come up after a few years, people knock it out of you that you're not. He brought you back when you're 10 years of age, poking the ball around the back, and made you feel free and took the pressure off.
You know, and I think a word that he definitely opened up to us, I'm sure it was there for hundreds of years, was visualization.
Yeah, visualization. Yeah.
It was that you see yourself making these runs.
Yeah.
You know.
He used to say, I remember we were playing, I think it could have been Kilkenny in the league. We were warming up in Kieran's College.
St. Kieran's.
St. Kieran's. And I remember him just coming to me, we're walking in now, and he's gear on in the back. And I remember him telling me, hey, the backman has you till April. And I says, what you mean? Backman has you till April. I said, what you mean? He wouldn't tell me. And I think it could have been a kind of let you think about it.
Yeah.
And it was really that, just if you're not playing well in the league, the ground is slower, it's a bit softer, backman suits you, just don't think too much about it. Wait till we get to first round championship, Munster final, but you have to peak in Croke Park, top of the ground, and this is what he wanted. He was talking about the forward. So you knew that, and he understood that the backman might have you till April, but there were only the two words that then kept going.
Yeah.
But you knew, you just open up your mind to different things.
He was great, like he'd make you think. Like, that was
yeah,
it.
He'd make you think,
you know what I mean? And he'd make you think of the second or third shot ahead. Like,
yes.
You know what was what was nearly going to happen. And you know, you often hear the professional players now, out halves and that.
Yeah.
They talk a lot about visualization.
Yeah.
I always like to think of it. It was a journey. When they came in, we were on the journey for a couple of years. We would have loved to have been on the journey with Liam and Eamon and those for longer. But it was definitely a journey, and as you said, we were all united in our way of thinking. Number one, but like Lara's not going to say it, but Lara brought his game to a different level completely. Yeah. And like for me, and I've no problem in saying that Lara was the best forward in the country for 3 years. 09, 10, 11. His form was just like, you know, people just turned on the TV to watch Lara. Because just his movement and how he was ghosted into positions, and then his finishing, he was matching that with his finishing. Yeah. I mean, you get those chances to have to finish. So, you know, that once you have a marquee forward in delivering day in, day out, you're always going to be very, very competitive. And I think that's the levels that Lara brought us to as well.
2010 was obviously a mad year, and there's the Cork game, and Isaki runs amok in that game. Yeah. And Gerlach Nan, watching back a bit of it during the week, says after the game that his quote was that Cork game robbed Tipperary of any notions of grandeur.
That happened, and that's when Liam came into his own. He backed us. So what happened in 2009, Tipperary were back up on a pedestal again. First round of the championship, we went down, got bet by 10 points. So it was very easy for Liam to say, yeah, Eoin, Lar, it's over for you, new lads coming in. But we had a meeting after that, and he backed us, he backed that team. To
just focus on the final a little bit, Lar just gets 3 scores obviously that day, 3 brilliant goals obviously. Yeah.
That day was really, like, you know, it's just you just don't believe it at the time. You look back at it on video after 2010, and you're still waiting for one of the balls to go wide. You don't believe that the 3 went in. Like, you know, you're looking at it, but like, we'll just say the second goal that day. That's what Tipperary were. Is Noel McGregor gets the ball. I knew before Noel got it, I was getting it, because we had done that. That's Noel's game. So that was over and over and over again. It was just lucky that it happened in an All-Ireland final.
It was the teamwork, like that. That was instilled into us.
Now you could make that run maybe a few years beforehand, and maybe you wouldn't have got it because we didn't know each other's play as much. But that ball that Noel got, I knew I was getting it. But Eamon O'Shea had that over and over again. That's the one that Noel caught it, hadn't passed it, and I was after making my run before Noel got it, because I knew what was going to happen. And that's what you try and think in them situations.
You know, you do celebrate all Ireland when you win, like that's, you know, and the whole county gets behind you and all that. And I suppose we would have travelled all over the world, like from New York to Boston, like, you know. And I remember even the following March, I was still on the go. I remember I got an invitation to the White House over in Washington. It was Dan
that was good timing, wasn't
it? Dan Rooney, he was the ambassador to Ireland, and I remember getting a call from his PA, this Patricia Reber, and you know, you've been invited to the White House, we'll get your details. And I was full sure it was a prank. Yes, same again. I said, oh, that's great. Yeah,
I'll be waiting outside. If I see the minibus coming, it's...
Left down the phone and I said, forget about that now. I'm not going to be making a fool of myself here. And get the call back again. Sorry, Mr. Kelly, we haven't received your details.
Yes.
No, it was kind of... So, like, even 6 months later, you're still in celebration kind of mode, like, and I suppose maybe that might have been different if Liam Sheedy had to stay on as manager, because we got the bad news that October after winning the All Ireland in 2010 that he was stepping down as manager.
That was unexpected.
That was definitely unexpected.
Yeah. I remember you ringing me and I said, oh my God, I can't believe this. And it was like as if there was a death in the family, because we were after buying into every single thing that they said, and the word family was mentioned, togetherness. We're in this together, united, and we bought into it, and we actually thought, yes, we were a family, yeah, we were working together, but I suppose what we overlooked was, at the end of the day, people have their own families and have their own careers and their own work to look after, but we kind of maybe joined them all up together.
Yeah.
Tipperary hurling clearly didn't fall off a cliff edge after that, but I do want to go forward to 2012 and another Munster win, obviously, at that point, in Kilkenny in the semis this time. Larry, you know where I'm headed with this. It got a lot of coverage afterwards, the Lar versus Tommy versus Jackie conversation. It always felt that, it felt in the immediate aftermath, there was a tone of the coverage seemed to be, there was a sneering element to it, and I've never really heard fully explained, like Babs was writing about, Declan Ryan couldn't get this more wrong. And what happened? How did that come about?
2011, I think Kilkenny kind of changed to man marking. So this thing started in 2011 that Jackie Terror was a man marking job on myself. We kind of knew going into 2011, I think we had kind of an inkling that this was going to happen. So to me, that's a very easy job for a backman, is just to take a guy out. And I kind of struggled with that for a good few months after, right? So how can we counteract it? What can we do? So I can go out the next day and you can just man mark, so a man can just stop you playing, stop you hurling. So are you just going to accept it? Are you going to try different things? So we had to come up with something different. So were we going to go into 2012 and just do the same thing again? So the situation was that, we had a meeting in the jockey, the management were there, the players were represented. We said we were going to come up with some sort of a plan, and we were going to stick to it. We went to training inside in Thurles. We done it in a training game. I remember I was man marking Tom Stapleton at the time. Tom didn't know what was happening. We were going to kind of mimic what we were going to do the week after. So if you ask people at half time in that game, are you happy with the system? Are you happy? Tipperary went in a pint up at half time. So were people happy? Were people happy with the system? The answer would have to, yeah, you take that. So it took 35 minutes of hurling for everyone to change their mind, to say, right, so I'm going to blame Lara now for getting bit by 18 pints. So even if I had to score 3 goals again that day, we were still bet by X amount. So we're still, that's how far away we were from winning. So Kilkenny scored 424 that day. I didn't realise that I was going to take the slack on the whole lot. So I wasn't marking 15 players.
Where did you get the idea from?
I remember going to Australia in Christmas in 2011, and I remember I was big into watching professionals playing and professionals train, and Sedanta Halpine was after changing from Carlton to Great Southern. I can't remember the professional team in Sydney that he was with, so I got in contact with him to know would I be able to go to a training, just say a training day. But I was able to get in and sit in all the team meetings, and the forwards had meetings, the backs had meetings, everything was done with video analysis, and it just blew my mind as regards what was happening. It was fascinating just to see it. And I remember talking to the head coach after, and I says, is there a forwards coach here? And he said, Jan, he says, his man's name was Stuart, his second name's after leaving me. And I said, do you mind if I have a chat with him? She said, yeah. So I kind of gave a scenario in my mind that I was after playing a game last year. Didn't say anything about just say Tipperary or I said I was after playing a game last year. I said I was taken out of it. I said I didn't perform, but I said the guy that I was marking had his mind made up, their management had the mind made up that, everywhere I went, he was following, and just couldn't shake him off. He had no interest in the game that day. Once I didn't touch it, he was happy, because I said they didn't want to let happen what happened in 2010 and 2009. So it wasn't going to happen 3 years in a row. I remember and the first words out of the forwards coach says to me, who's their leader, who's their key man? And I kind of said, at the time I would have said Tommy Welsh. Well, he says, you have to do something about him and ask the question. So ask the next question. So if you were to track him, will Jackie track you? I said, yeah, I will, because they've their mind made up. He said, you have to try something, but you have to try and track their key man, because that's what they're after doing. That has to open up an avenue for other players. So if you have Jackie Terrell and Tommy Welsh in a space, there has to be space for other people. But you have to get to a space where they don't want to be. So if Jackie wants to be in the corner and Tom Welsh wants to be in the wing, well now, can you go midfield? Can you go centre back? Can you so you have to keep asking the question. And that just got my mind kind of going. And I remember coming back, we just have a couple of discussions with the management at the time, and we done it inside in training. And that's kind of where it just originated from. Because I said, go back up to Croke Park with no game plan and do the same as you done in 2011. It's not going to work.
And just before we wrap, lads, I wanted to sort of talk to you in some respects about, well, particularly with you, Eoin, go back to where it all began. You're both back playing for the club, Lara fairly successfully for Sarsfields, and Eoin, to complete the circle back between the goal.
That's it, yeah. I went back with the club this year, but kind of old injuries kind of cropped up again, you know, so I was trying to go back playing outfield, and then the odd day our goalkeeper couldn't make games for league games. I ended up back in the goal, so I was back double jobbing again this year. But you know, it's like anything, when you finish up, you know, you like to be injury free back with your club. So I kind of had an unlucky year that way. It was a few old injuries came back again, and you know, we didn't finish up a successful season, so it was disappointing. But you know, it's nice to get back to the club, back with the lads and that, and you know, I'm hoping maybe I'll get a clear run of injuries next year and enjoy it again. I think there's another couple of years maybe left in me at club level, please God.
Yeah. And Lara, you obviously stood aside in 2012. It was fairly previously in 2012, and it was reported at that point you'd retired. That wasn't actually the case. Is there a possibility that we're going to see Lara Corbett in Tipperary colours again, or is it Sarsfields for you now for the next few years before you bow out?
Yeah, it's Sarsfields, and that's it. And I was delighted just this year to go back to the club, and we were lucky enough again, just contested and won another county final. And when you go back to the club, you actually get a right kick out of the young fellas that you don't probably get a chance to train with and play with all year. So lads that are coming in, they're 19, they're 20, they think different, they have a carefree attitude, they're carefree about anything that's happening. And it's great to go back down just to their mindset, because when you go up to the field, you want to switch off and you don't want to take it as serious as work and as everything else. And it's great to get away. But we're lucky enough, as I said, that it's a successful club and you're part of just the chances of togging out in a county final with Thurles Arses year in year is very, very high. So it's great that it's taken, it's serious, but there's a good crack and a good element to it in that way.